Did anybody else get some major Persona 5 vibes from Metaphor ReFantazio last year? Just me? Sega and Atlus's A-Team, P Studio, splintered off to develop a new team, Studio Zero, in efforts to take a big swing on a brand new IP following the breakout success of Persona 5 almost a decade ago, with much of the talent responsible for bringing the Shin Megami Tensei Persona series and turn-based RPGs as a whole to the widest audience it had seen pre-Clear Obscure Expedition 33. Metaphor ReFantazio was set to be a bold, new fantasy world wrapped up in familiar mechanics, visual direction, and a mission to cleanse the world of political corruption. So, 365 days later, has Metaphor ReFantazio left an impression on the world? Was this release a step up from the adventures of Joker and the Phantom Thieves? Or is this medieval fantasy story just going to end up an interesting note in Sega's history? 2024, for many, was crowned the year of RPGs, and JRPGs specifically, with Sega having a big hand in making that our reality. Kicking off 2024 with Ryuga Gotoku's Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Atlus's remake of Persona 3 with Persona 3 Reload, and even dropping a bit of a hidden gem through Vanillaware's Unicorn Overlord. Players had no shortage of lengthy, well-reviewed JRPGs to play throughout the year. But the main event for most fans of the genre rested in October with Metaphor ReFantazio, the next game from Persona 5 director Katsura Hashino. Taking the striking visuals of the Persona series, their splashy and unique UI design, snappy turn-based battles, and overwhelming sense of style, plus lengthy story arcs to a brand new IP, it was clear that for fans and the developers, a lot was riding on this title. Billed as the journey of a boy from a lesser tribe traveling the world to grow a party of other outcasts from oppressed tribes and diverse backgrounds in order to forge bonds strong enough to oppose the usurping of the crown from a tyrannical warlord, Metaphor ReFantazio is truly an epic. A large departure from the high school setting of the Persona series or the post-apocalyptic worlds of the SMT franchise, Metaphor instead embraced a variety of classical art influences to create a fantasy world which manages to feel familiar, yet wholly unique. Considering Persona 5 was a breakout hit for Atlus after its launch, growing only more popular with time, there was an interest to see if Metaphor would be able to ride the wave of P5 in the absence of a brand new Persona 6. So was it able to capitalize on these new age Persona fans? Well, critically, Metaphor was received just about as well as Persona 5, coming in with a 93 on OpenCritic compared to the mighty 94 held by Persona 5. Metaphor received countless praise for nearly every single aspect of the game, from its art direction to its new twists on combat, mixing in turn-based with real-time overworld battles, and most importantly, its story. At the Game Awards 2024, the biggest stage the industry has to award the year's best, Metaphor was able to swoop in and grab the award for Best Narrative, going against heavy hitters in the category like Silent Hill 2, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But beyond that honor, the game garnered numerous other awards, including Game of the Year, from many different outlets. In the time since launch, it's been made clear that Metaphor was a welcome addition to a history genre full of greatly compelling and impactful stories. But was all of this acclaim able to translate to sales? Immediately out the gate, Metaphor was seemingly able to capitalize on the hype and goodwill bought by this being the next game from the makers of Persona 5, a title which managed to sell over 10 million copies as of August of 2025 across both the standard and royal versions of the game. Within its first day on sale, Metaphor managed to sell 1 million copies, making it the fastest selling Atlus-developed game in the company's history. Just a few months after launch on May 29th, 2025, the game was added to the Xbox Game Pass catalog, allowing an entire new audience of players the chance to enter Uchronia and the contest for the crown. Today, 1 year later, across PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and the Xbox Series consoles, the game has hit 2 million total sales, based on a report from Sega in June of 2025. So by most metrics, Metaphor has done very well. But where does the game go from here? Historically, major Atlus titles are known to get definitive releases with extra content, as seen in titles like Persona 4 Golden, Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, and Persona 5 Royal. So is that what is next for Metaphor? Well, in the time since release, Metaphor ReFantazio hasn't really seen much in the way of significant updates. No major DLC has been released or even rumored, leading some to suspect whatever potential expansion could come to the game will be seen through a definitive release. Although, Atlus could very well be shifting away from this strategy they followed for generations. Persona 3 Reload, which released earlier in 2024, ended up receiving an expansion pass, bringing with it extra content which would typically be tied to a new release of the game. But is extra content or an add-on really something that would make sense for Metaphor? Based on comments from the game's director, Hoshino, talking with Famitsu just 1 week after the game launched, he confirmed that Studio Zero was already underway on the development of their next game. Based on further comments, while it doesn't seem like this new game will end up being a proper sequel to Metaphor ReFantazio, the director would like to return to that world in the future. So while the conversation of a Metaphor ReFantazio sequel or content expansion is a bit nebulous at the moment, what's more easy to figure out is where Metaphor ReFantazio will show up next. Ahead of the 1-year anniversary of Metaphor ReFantazio, Sega and Atlus revealed that alongside a fan event in California taking place on October 10th, at 9 p.m. Pacific, they would also be holding an anniversary celebration stream with a special message. The scope of this stream and what the message could entail has been up for debate amongst fans since it was unveiled, with some expecting it could be as simple as new merch announcements, a total sales update, or could potentially end up being an unveiling of Metaphor releasing on a brand new platform, something that has been a bit of an expectation for the game in the recent months. Earlier in 2025, at a Nintendo Direct presentation, it was revealed that the remake of Persona 3, Persona 3 Reload, would be coming to the new Nintendo Switch 2 in October of 2025, standalone for $60 or bundled with this expansion it received for $90. As we see more and more third-party ports that wouldn't have been able to run well on the Nintendo Switch pop up as future releases for Nintendo Switch 2, it feels like a matter of time before we see an unveiling of a Nintendo Switch 2 release for Metaphor ReFantazio. Now, if this re-release will be the exact same version of the game that is currently playable across PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, or an altered version of the game with new quality of life features and an additional story expansion, like with Persona 5 Royal, well, that remains to be seen. The near to far future for Atlus currently seems to be locked in on Persona, thanks to Persona 4 Revival and the ever-looming Persona 6. So 1 year removed from the launch of Metaphor ReFantazio, with the knowledge that Studio Zero has already moved on to their next title, how do you feel about the game? Did Metaphor stand tall as your game of the year for 2024? Have you been waiting to play it in hopes that it gets a release on Nintendo Switch 2? Or are you just ready to move on to Persona 6? Let us know what you hope to see out of Atlus, Studio Zero, and the Metaphor franchise next, and for more on all things gaming, stay tuned to Game Rant.